Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are doing a Firkraag, Cunning, Instigator deck on our deck check-in today. So that's a deck review. This one is a bit different for a few reasons. First of all, we changed the format. If you have any ideas about how do we make other improvements, I would love to hear them. Also, you can actually check this deck out in action, so you can see it on our We Don't Learn 2, our playthrough series with all the teachers. And yeah, you can see it, Ollie, the guy who made it, using it pretty effectively, I would say. So if you want to check it out, I will put a link up there. And yeah, like and subscribe.
Alright, so this is all about Firkraag, the Cunning Instigator. Let's take a look here. Again, we are reviewing decks, and on this one, we are looking at this Izzet commander. When we think Izzet commanders, we often think like spell slingers and things like this. A lot of trickery. Firkraag does a lot of trickery. The way he does it is very different than other decks though. And this deck really takes advantage of like maximizing that usefulness. So I really love that aspect of it. Another interesting thing about him is that he is a dragon kindred commander. So you do have some of that like generally higher CMC creatures and things like that. It pays off in spades though. So this is a deck where you get that extra value for putting in the extra mana. That's for dang sure. So let's look at the commander. Again, 3 blue and a red Izzet for this 3/3 flying haste. Having a commander with evasion and haste, always very nice. Anyway, whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, go target creature that opponent controls. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Firkraag, Cunning Instigator, and you draw a card. So this commander has a built-in card draw engine and can make itself bigger and bigger and bigger by just like not really having to do anything itself. A lot of usefulness right there, that's for sure. So, Goat is very effective at controlling combats and managing your opponent's options. Usually your opponents don't have a whole board of like great attackers. They've got like some that are more useful things and some that are actually intended for attacking. Not even that many. So yeah, if you're saying this one has to attack and it has to attack someone else, you're really changing kind of like how the game works overall. This deck presses the advantage, as I said, by adding counter spells. So you're like limiting their choices a lot in combat. Like they're going to have to attack, and they have to attack with this creature, and they have to attack someone other than you, and they're going to have all these counter spells coming at them that are just going to allow you to dictate how the game unfolds to a large degree. Goad has one particular flaw that keeps it from being more widely useful. As soon as there's only 2 players, when you're goading that creature, it means it has to attack you. So there is a flaw there, or maybe not a flaw, but a downside is what I should say. Having other bonuses associated with forcing the attacks is really important in that case, right? We want to keep making sure that there is that value to forcing it to attack, and you do. You're going to get that +1/+1 counter, and more importantly, I think that card draw. So yeah, you keep getting card draw after card draw after card draw, and your commander's going to get to be just like this massive beast anyway. The second ability does not actually require the attacking creature is goaded. That's something very important to note that I was going to note a minute ago, but it just says, yeah, the creature was forced to attack. Also, this can be your own creature, right? It doesn't have to be another player's creature. If your creatures are forced to attack by any means, yeah, you're going to be drawing a card and throwing that +1/+1 counter down. So yeah, even forcing your whole board to attack could potentially just be like making your commander into like this huge, maybe just game-ending threat right there. This can also be triggered multiple times per turn, right? It is every time a creature is forced to attack. So if you force a whole bunch of creatures to attack on the same turn all at once, you get all of that card draw and all of those +1/+1 counters. And that's where you really start to look at, like, is there a commander damage option here? Yeah, there sure is. So this Firkraag Cunning Instigator deck, this is not, I cover a lot of budget decks, this is not a budget deck. This is $739.06 as of like last night anyway. They go up pretty quick usually. So a lot of times I would try to make a budget version of these before. I'm not doing that anymore because then I just kind of end up doing a budget video. I'm not really doing a review of the deck. So I'm just going to like talk about the deck and focus on all that. If you want to, reminder, if you want to see this in action, you can. It's what is it? We Don't Learn 2. Our teachers play playthroughs of Commander. Ollie, who built the deck, actually used this in that game. It was pretty scary. So if you want to see what this deck is all about, you can see it in action there. And I have posted a link to the deck on Moxfield. You can see Ollie's original by looking it up, or I've got the kind of duplicated one. I duplicate it mostly because like I wasn't duplicating them before, and then they'd like delete the deck or change the deck, and then it was like, that's a problem. Anyway, we are going to look at these star cards here, the cards that get the real work done in the deck. These are broken down into two main categories. These are Dragon Kindred, which are of course important for getting our first ability activation in general, and things that give goad or force attacks or have synergy with goad or forcing attacks, because that's what this deck is really all about. So how do we maximize the advantage from both of those things? The dragons help do that already, but yeah, we definitely want to get as much value out of those dragons as we can, because they ain't cheap, that's for sure. So dragons, first up is our Ancient Silver Dragon, which is something you're probably familiar with if you know a lot about Dragon Kindred. Anyway, 6 blue for this 8/8 flyer. Whew. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You draw cards equal to the result, so you're going to get this huge card draw. But the second part I think is even more important in this deck. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. There's a lot of things that can do this. You've got lands that can do it, you've got artifacts that can do it, but this is just like an ability. As soon as you get this, it's done. You have no more limit to your hand size for the rest of the game. Like, just, yeah, no way to get rid of that, really. Cancel this specific ability, I mean. Anyway. Scourge of the Throne. We got 4 red for this 5/5 flyer. It has Dethrone, so whenever this creature attacks the player with the most life or tied with the most life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yeah. Whenever this attacks for the first time each turn, if the attacking player is the one with the most life or tied, untap all attacking creatures, then there's another attacking phase after this one. So your dragons are gonna get just so many triggers. It is limited to 1 creature per player per combat, but this is going to let you do double for that, and therefore draw double cards after, and like get double your +1/+1 counters. This is just terrifying. Next up, we got Draco Genesis. 6 red for this enchantment. People probably is expecting this from Tarkir, but anyway. You may cast dragon spells without paying their mana cost. So you've got tons of card draw, potentially no limit to your hand size, and then tons of dragons, and then you could just start throwing them down. Alright, well, there you go. Next up, we have Lozhan, Dragon's Legacy. 3 and a blue-red. I keep wanting to say white for some reason. There's no white in this. For this 4/2 flyer, whenever you cast an adventure spell or a dragon spell, Lozhan, Dragon's Legacy, deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to any target that isn't a commander. Any target that isn't a commander. that does include other players, right? So that can be pretty useful there. And the last dragon I want to talk about is this Parafet Thrasher. So 2 red, I almost said green now. I don't know colors. This is 4/3 flyer. So whenever 1 or more dragons you control deal combat damage to an opponent, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. There's 3 options, so you potentially are going to be activating all 3 options every turn if you can get those attacks through with dragons on different opponents, which is what you want to do anyway. Alright, so destroy target artifact that opponent controls. Removal. Hey. This creature deals 4 damage to each other opponent. So you're going to do 4 bonus damage to the other opponents. Yeah. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Even more card draw. Sure, why not? You don't need it, but it's there. Alright, now we are going to talk about ways we could set off more triggers and get more benefits from those attacking things. So this is really dealing more with like setting up more triggers from the attacks and getting all kinds of like benefits from goading and all that kind of things. Basically just a bunch of synergy stuff. Goldspan Dragon. A dragon, obviously, first of all. 3 red for this 4/4 flying haste. Whenever a Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes target of a spell, create a treasure token. So yeah, every time he attacks, which you're going to be doing with him anyway, you get to make treasure as well. And treasures you control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana. So you get double mana from treasures. There is a treasure sub-theme in this. There's actually a lot of different ways to get treasures from this deck, and it's a great way for Izzet to ramp, so it's kind of one of our ways to ramp in this deck. Gonna talk more about that in a second. Chaos Dragon. This is just an insane card in this deck. 1 red for this 4/4 flying haste. A flying haste 4/4 for 3 mana. Usually there's another side to this that's usually a downside. In this deck, it's just a huge upside. Chaos Dragon attacks each combat if able. So that means every combat he's attacking, you automatically get a card draw and a +1/+1 in your commander. Like, aye. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player rolls a d20. If 1 or more opponents had the highest result, Chaos Dragon can attack those players or planeswalkers they control in this combat. Again, you are also rolling one of those d20s, so maybe you roll it and you can attack anyone, or one person safe from the Chaos Dragon, but not from any other dragon. Really, you want to attack every opponent with a dragon, so this is not really much of a downside at all. Next up, we have Disrupt Decorum. I love this card in general. 2 red for this sorcery. I can't talk again. Go to all creatures you don't control. All creatures you don't control are forced to attack. And attack someone else if possible. That means you're just drawing cards equal to the number of creatures your opponents control. And then you're going to like just put a pile of +1/+1 counters on your commander. Gold Lust Triad. 4 in red for this, once again, dragon. 4/3 flying Myriad. Myriad, so useful here. Remember, those myriad means it makes a copy that attacks each opponent that it can. So you've got a dragon basically making dragons that will attack every other opponent. So if they get through and they do that combat damage, there's your triggers. You could just like have all of your triggers set right there, and even it's a big help also because like if they can block one of your flyers, they've got another flyer to contend with. So how many flyers can they block, really? This is a big one. Oh, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token as well. Because it wasn't good enough before, you need to add treasure tokens. Vengeful Ancestor, 2 red for the Spirit Dragon. It is a 3/4 flyer this time. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, goad target creature. So you're getting this like double goad effect. What's nice about this is that it is not like the creature, a creature controlled by the player it's attacking. It's just any creature on the board you can goad. So that is very, very useful in its flexibility. So yeah. It doesn't even specify you have to goad a target creature you don't control. So if you goad your own creature and then just like that you're going to attack with anyway, there you go. You got your card draw all set up there. So whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. So you're turning that goad into something that's actually hurting your opponents as well. Just a whole bunch of like goodness there. Now we are looking at the plan. What does this deck want to do and how is it going to win? So step 1, always ramping and fixing. Step 2, we're going to talk about counter spells. It's not really a step in winning, but it's how you like manage the game and kind of press that advantage that you're getting from like controlling all of the creature's attacks and things like that. So really this is how like the other side of like managing the board and just taking control of the game. And finally win cons, of course. Ramping and fixing. All right. We've got Ancient Copper Dragon. We talked about, or no, we didn't talk about this one. I'm thinking of the other Ancient Dragon. So it was Ancient Silver Dragon, right? So 4 red for the 6/5 flyer. 6 is a lot, but whenever it attacks, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You create treasure tokens equal to the result. So up to 20 treasures. Yeah, that's your ramping and fixing done. Wayfarer's Bauble, pay 1, 1 to cast it, 2 to activate it, and then sack it and go get a land, put it into the battlefield tapped. It's a basic land, but you know what? It's not bad. Again, Izzet is not good at ramping and fixing, so we'll take whatever we can get. Next up, Dragon's Horde. I love this one. A lot of people aren't big on the 3 mana cost ones. I think if they have the extra functionality, it's more than worth it, and this does. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, put a gold counter on this, and you can tap it, remove a gold counter, draw a card, or tap it to add 1 mana. So in the unlikely event you need more card draw in this deck, it can do that, or you can just tap it for 1 color of any mana. Or 1 mana of any color. My brain today is not happy. Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind. 2 in a red. So this has tap to add a red mana. If that mana is spent on a dragon, it gains haste until end of turn. Very useful. It is very useful. Some of our dragons do have haste already. I also like that it taps for a mana and does give you a benefit for using it on a dragon, but it doesn't say you have to use it exclusively on dragons or anything like that. That is a really nice kind of like, I think, an upgrade from previous. People might call it a bit of power creep even, but anyway, I like it. Sword of the Animist for 2 mana. This is equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 whenever equipped creature attacks. It only has to attack, not even deal damage. You may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Equip 2. Also, being able to like shuffle in this deck is very nice because you got so much card draw that maybe if you do any scrying, you're going to be able to like just keep rearranging things, and it's good. It's good, yeah. Keeps your options open. Alright, our counters now. So we got Hydroelectric Specimen for 2 in a blue. This is a creature with flash, a 1/4 I should say. And when it enters the battlefield, you may change the target of any instant or sorcery spell with a single target to itself. So basically you can like use it to like absorb something. Your commander is going to be a big target for removal, so this is probably going to be some nice defense for your commander. Also, you can use it as a land if you don't use it as this, so yeah. Swan Song, 1 blue. For this instant, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell, its controller gets a 2/2 bird instead. Not too shabby. Transcendent Dragon for blue. Once again, this is a 4/3 with flash and flying. 6 is a lot for a counter spell. Holding up 6 mana. One of the nice things about having treasures is like, is it just that you're trying to stockpile treasures, or you're going to have a counter spell all of a sudden? So if you've got a bunch of those treasures sitting around, having 6 mana ready for this is not such a like tipping your hand kind of thing. Anyway, when this creature enters, if you cast it, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard, then you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So any spell, you're not only countering it, you're stealing it, which is way better than countering it. Next up, we've got Mana Drain, a classic 2 blue. For this instant, counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Add an amount of colorless mana equal to its converted mana cost. So, counter spell, get a bunch of mana. Good little combo. But if that wasn't good enough, we've got a scary one here. Fierce Guardianship. For 2 and a blue, this instant, if you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. So if you've got your commander, it's free. Counter target non-creature spell. So anytime your commander's out, you could just like counter any non-creature spell for nothing. Yeah. Ooh. Let's get into the win cons. These are definitely different. Your main win con is just like beating them down with dragons, right? Combat damage is very easy when you've got like evasive big flyers. I guess evasive flyers is redundant, but still. Win con number 1, just making it so your dragons can easily get through is what this is all about. So we've got Raise the Palisade for 4 and a blue. This sorcery says, choose a creature type, return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hands. So you're mass bouncing things back to people's hands, which is basically what the next one does. You probably know what you might expect it. Cyclonic Rift. Yeah. For 1 and a blue, this instant, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Or Overload, 6 and a blue. So for 7, this bounces every non-land permanent back to their owner's hands. Yeah, so win. Win con number 2. Okay, this is all about getting automatic damage through just over and over and over until they're toast. This is more of a whittling down thing usually, but you can do some pretty huge damage with this. So even if it's like mid to late game, this is probably gonna let you like tip the scales in your favor. Anyway, we got Scourge of Valkas, 2 red. That's 3 reds for this 4/4 flyer. So whenever this or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. Yeah. I guess with this out, it'd be minimum 2, probably a lot more. It'll add up very quickly. Terror of the Peaks, 3 red for this 5/4 flyer. Spells your opponent's control that target Terror of the Peaks. It costs an additional 3 life to cast. Nice bit of kind of a ward effect there. Similar to ward. It's not ward. I'm not saying that. Anyway. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So again, if you've got the Scourge of Valkas and Terror of the Peaks out, you're going to be dealing a lot of automatic damage, and we're not done yet. We've got Law's Hand, Dragon's Legacy, again 3 red, blue. 4/2 flyer, and whenever you cast an adventure spell or a dragon spell, this deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target that isn't a commander. Once again, including players. So you got 3 things that can do automatic damage. Just cast a dragon. It's going to set off all 3 of these, right? But we've got another one still, just to be ridiculous. 1 and a red. For this enchantment, it is Dragon's Tempest. Yeah. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end of turn. Haste ain't bad. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to any creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So basically the Scourge of Valkus effect over again, but yeah. These all stack, right? So even if you have 2 or 3 of these down, if they're not at full health, if they're even at like half health, you're looking at something that's going to get you to that win very quickly. I'm going to talk about one more win con here, which is a very simple one. Just Dracogenesis. Play your dragons for free. 6 red enchantment. You may cast dragon spells without paying their mana cost. You've got this insane card draw, and so many dragons. So on your turn, you're just going to throw down dragon, and hopefully they have haste as well, which means you're just going to like do this auto damage and then combat damage and then win the game. Yeah. Hey, scary stuff. On to some budget suggestions. This is not a budget deck, so making budget suggestions is a little tricky, but I'm going to give it my shot anyway. A lot of these are, again, they're suggestions, they're not upgrades. I'm not using the word upgrade for a very good reason. My suggestions are Orb of Dragonkind. I'll go over them later. These are all under $2 as well, I should point out. Horde Smelter Dragon and Path of Ancestry. I think this is the most like no-brainer one on the list, but it's still a good one. What am I going to replace in this deck with these budget things? Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind. I would trade up with just the Orb of Dragonkind to be very original, right? So for 2 and a red, pay 1, add and tap it, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast dragon spells or activate abilities of dragons. So it does have that limitation where it has to be used on dragons. And you also have to put a 1 mana in to get 2 mana out. The nice thing is you can put 1 colorless in and get 2 color out. And for 1 red and tap, sacrifice this. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a dragon card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. A lot of times in this deck, a lot of your win cons are connected to your dragons. So if you really need a dragon, if there's been some big board wipe or somehow they like made you discard your hand or something, maybe you just really need to get that dragon. This is kind of your like safety thing. You're going to be able to find a dragon out of 7 cards in this deck, almost guaranteed, unless you're extremely unlucky. But yeah, this is kind of a safety thing. I look at it as anyway. Next up, Imrith Desert Doom with 3 blue for this 5/5. I'm taking Imrith out. I love Imrith, but this deck is so good at card draw. Imrith is really kind of making up for bad card draw. I think a lot of what he does is like fixing some like maybe not great card draw options. This deck does not need it, so I'd say take him out. And for the Horde Smelter Dragon, again, 4 red for this 5/5 flyer, and you can pay 3 in a red. Destroy target artifact. Doesn't require tapping or anything. So basically, it is 4 mana. It's not cheap, but you could just keep blowing up artifact after artifact after artifact. And every time you do, this gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is that artifact's mana value. So you could just like, if you have enough mana, take out all the really good artifacts your opponents have on the board, and make this into like this massive flying, just really problem for anyone that's going to hit. So just a lot of extra usefulness there. Finally, replacing Bonder's Enclave once again is a card draw option. Really? It does colorless and card draw? I don't really think we need the card draw in this deck. It's rare, you know, but even the 3 mana is probably more important than the card draw. So yeah. Path of Ancestry. So it enters the battlefield tapped. There's a downside, but it can do 1 of either color in your commander's color identities. So after it's untapped, it's basically like another command tower. And whenever that mana is spent to cast a creature that shares a type with your commander, scry 1. So many dragons, so much scrying, especially with lots of card draw. That scry is going to be so useful. You're going to be making sure that that card draw does work, you know, and you're going to be able to activate this scry probably multiple times, if not per turn, definitely per game. You will get the value out of it anyway. And that is what I've had my breakdown on this Firkraag deck. I am doing this very differently than before, so if you like kind of how the changes that I've made, please let me know. And as always, take it easy.